What you got there?
Michael, starring John Travolta. This is only a weekly rental though, so how many weeks do you think you've had this? It's a 7-day, 6-night rental.
I owe Blockbuster a lot of money.
You're the reason they went out of business. So, John Travolta.
Mm-hmm.
He's a scientist?
He's a Scientologist. Welcome to In the Fold. I'm Mike.
I'm Elaina.
And today we're reviewing my Scientology movie.
Hello? Can I just give you a letter? We're doing a documentary about Scientology. Wait, I've got...
Scientology. A religion created by a sci-fi writer, run by a mysterious leader, David Miscavage.
So this is my chance to experience
Scientology
firsthand.
You probably have seen something about Scientology if you're watching this review.
You probably understood, you know, you've seen something, I'm sure. You've read Wikipedia, or maybe you are a Scientologist. Welcome.
Hi, David.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Tom Cruise.
Hi. So, there's been a slew of Scientology-related media coming out right now.
Yeah, it's a year of Scientology.
HBO had a documentary, Going Clear.
Leah Remini has a show on a TLC or something like
A&E.
that. A&E. She was a former Scientologist, so she kind of goes into like what her daily life was like.
And now we have another take on the Scientology story from a British filmmaker named Louis Theroux. This is a very personal sort of documentary. Going Clear is sort of like an overarching general film that has just a bunch of interviews with everyone involved with Scientology, but this is more taking a look at specific players and sort of getting almost a character study on them done through the casting process, because they're interacting with all of these actors who have to put themselves into the mind of David Miscavage and Tom Cruise and, you know, just people who are Scientologists. And it explores, you know, what it's like to be a Scientologist, you know, what's the mindset that they have.
I am, and since 1987 have been, the chairman of the board of Religious Technology Center.
I would take it down a notch.
Okay.
Because I think that went a little too conversational.
You know, we can't get the real Miscavige, but we can create our own Miscavige.
Marty Rathbun, who was a former Sea Org member.
I was the baddest ass dude in Scientology. The hierarchy of the Church of Scientology was absolutely at the beck and call of me.
They use him as like a guide for their casting and for all of the reenactments, the scripting process, and everything.
Welcome to the hole.
You fuck up one more time, I will rip your fucking face off! Get with me, motherfucker! Don't look away!
He's got it. He's got it. Is that something he would say?
Scary, huh?
You can tell a person what a Scientologist does or is like, you know, but until you meet one for real or like get into their headspace, it's really hard to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie does a good job of getting you into that mind space because it uses these reenactments to do a character study on the leader of Scientology, who probably is the person who knows the most about it or the person who's drank the Kool-Aid the most.
They based everything off of this one interview that he did with
Tom Brokaw.
Ted Koppel.
Joining us live tonight is David Miscavage, whose formal title is Chairman of the Board of the Religious Technology Center, the organization which manages Dianetics and Scientology.
Ted Koppel.
Ted Koppel.
And they're just using this footage to kind of shape everything else and shape how they think that all these interactions happened. And the poor guy that wound up being cast as David Miscavige, the fact that it was all kind of real, like I think that really got to that actor.
They're very manipulative. They like will go after you, they'll sue you.
And we see it in the documentary. We see them, Louis Theroux gets letters sent to him by the lawyers. They show up during filming.
Yeah, they show up with cameras.
They show up with cameras, and they're saying they're making their own documentary. They've like blocked off roads.
Create any issue for you.
And I don't want him filming me, so tell him to stop.
Well, you're filming us.
Tell him to
well,
stop.
What? You tell him to stop.
Tell him to stop.
You tell him to stop, and I'll tell him to stop. How about that?
Stop.
Tell him to stop.
Louis, you need to leave.
Catherine, we don't need to leave.
But what I like about this documentary and what I like about Louis Theroux is that He went out to do this experiment and to see what would happen. They did the rest. They showed up and they acted the way they did, and he just filmed.
He asked one of the videographers that's harassing him for his business card.
Yeah. We'd like to use you, can I have your card? Yeah. He's calm, he's cool, he's collected, and I would say he's even courageous for standing up there and talking to these people and not losing his head, not raising his voice.
Yeah, he's putting himself out there to be harassed now by Scientology, so it takes a lot of courage to do a documentary like this, and you gotta commend a guy for it.
Thank you! You believe so much they can convince you of anything.
Scary, huh?
Scientology.
So Scientology is a religion.
It's well, it's legally a religion. They don't pay taxes.
They don't.
They have meeting places, according to them, across the globe, even though we know that's not true.
Yeah.
Because they say they're in Australia and Germany, even though
they're banned.
They're banned, but that's fine.
But Scientology is halfway between a business.
Also, like meditation.
Yeah, like self-help or something like that.
Yeah.
Like when you go there, you're not learning about God. You know, you learn about how to communicate with people better. You learn about how to talk to people, how to look people in the eye, how to just like be a productive like person.
That's the trap. And they believe your body and your mind will die, but the Thetan will go...
Yeah, into somebody else.
Into somebody else.
Because you don't have just one Thetan, and you have like thousands of like old Thetans that you need to clear yourself of, because they're responsible for all
your anxiety.
Yeah, all your anxiety and your stress and everything that kind of makes you like feel bad. Scientology is responsible for everything that's good in your life now that you've become a Scientologist.
Which, if it wasn't also a business, would not be a problem. If that was just a religion on its own, then fine, great. But the fact that to clear these Thetans, people are spending $50,000, $500,000 to move up and to get to the next level and to go clear, like that's where the problem is. You're in this community, this very tight-knit community, and you have no way of reaching out. You have no way of getting other information than what you're being fed, which is why people, A, stay in it for so long, and B, it's like a huge blow-up when they leave. And there's stories of people, when they leave, it's like a death, because they're cutting off husbands, wives, children, everybody they know. They're cutting off their life, they're cutting off their job, and they're totally leaving all of that behind to venture into the outside world, the outside of Scientology. Why do you think that there's such a mass exodus of Scientology right now?
Most people that are in Scientology are people whose parents were in Scientology. So unless you were really brought up a Scientologist, there's not that many people who are joining the church anymore. In fact, their numbers are declining. But at the same time, they have like billions of dollars, so they're just buying tons of property all over the place.
In the last decade alone, more than 40 new ideal churches have opened across 6 continents.
A lot of people have recently left, which is why we're getting this huge influx of
Scientology documentaries.
Documentaries and information. And a lot of them were actors. A lot of these people, a huge base of the church is, because it's in LA, and it was started by a celebrity, L. Ron Hubbard, started by someone in the public eye, and he wanted like people like Jimmy Stewart. Hey! Merry Christmas, Mr. Potter! So like, could you imagine like, you know, Mr. Smith goes to Scientology? Could you imagine that?
He just knew that if you brought media figures in, it would draw a lot of attention and validate the whole cause.
Right, it's like an endorsement.
Our international base is down in Clearwater, Florida, and I actually got the opportunity to go down there with Monica. And we went inside the Church of Scientology that they had there. And I got to talk to the guy who was running it, and he sat us, down and showed us some videos and just kind of talked to us and gave us the opportunity to ask him some questions. And one of the questions I asked him was, in Catholicism, they have confession, but people don't have to pay for it, like it's free. Why do you pay for it in Scientology? And his response was,
get the fuck out.
Scientology gives and gives to you, so you just feel like you want to give something back. And, you know, it's sort of like a mutual exchange
That sounds like,
sort of thing.
that sounds like
And I was
something...
like, that sounds like a business. You pay money and you get a service. They are brought up to believe that a good way of showing respect for Scientology is to give them your money.
That's really interesting. That's a really interesting form of brainwashing.
Yeah, right? And a great way to scam people out of their money.
And a great way to keep people in it, because don't they like also like house people and like feed people? So like
they fence them in.
They fence them in. So like if you have nothing and you've given all of your money to the church, how are you gonna leave?
Which is a great way to segue back into the movie, because they go to like the outskirts of one of their bases in California.
Right by like the movie studio where they make all their propaganda.
And you can see that the fence has got barbed wire on it. They got motion detectors and lights, and people come out to see what they're up to.
No, it isn't. It isn't a public road.
Look,
It's
Catherine,
trespassing.
Catherine.
Look, you're not that stupid.
Whoa, you're assaulting
you see
me.
that thing? It says road closed.
It's not surprising that Tom Cruise is still in Scientology, because they
love him. They put him on a pedestal, and he's great. That's great for him because he's short, so he can see more because he's up on the pedestal.
Right.
Which is very different.
Scientology boosts his ego because his height doesn't do anything for him.
I looked at them.
Why do you think that actors are attracted to Scientology?
Scientology has the Celebrity Center in LA, which is a resource that actors can go to try and get more work. Acting is a very difficult job to get into, and actors, I hate to say it, are very naive, you know? They think that, you know, they can make it, or they also get very desperate too. So it can attract actors very easily. And then all of the communication techniques that they learn at the start of Scientology help them in their careers, because you need to be a good communicator, you need to learn how to control yourself and your body and other people as well when you're an actor.
Scientology.
So Marty Rathbun, he is an ex-Scientology member, and he helps Louis, you know, navigate the world of Scientology. And Louis Theroux uses like Scientology methods sort of on him so that he can, you know, expose a little bit more or reveal a little bit more about Scientology or himself. Because when you're in auditing, they will basically bring up something that stresses you out over and over and over again until it just doesn't anymore.
And that's going clear.
Yeah.
Becoming clear, it means you've cleared that anxiety. So they'll, you know, make loud noises right in your face if you're fidgety, or they'll bring up maybe an insecurity or something that happened in your past just to make you dead to it. At the start of the documentary, he's personable, he's hanging out in this like motel.
And he's like excited to talk about it.
He's open.
He wants to call himself the most badass guy in Scientology.
Right.
He takes a lot of like credit.
He does. And then by the end of it, it's like he's shut down. Like he doesn't want to talk about it. He feels like everyone is kind of out to get him. He's very paranoid, and he's going through a lot. People are out to get him. People are harassing him. His fear is warranted, but he feels that way even towards the filmmakers.
He's a very complicated person, because he, on some level, feels some sort of regret for the things that he's done, but at the same time, he still feels a little bit of pride toward it.
Everybody, hey, la, la, hey, la, la,
He's like, yeah, I did do that. Yeah, I did terrorize these people. And when these people come and bring up his family, Louis turns and says, well, didn't you do stuff like this to other people? And he's like, yeah, but, you know.
But he can't live a normal life anyway.
Thanks, guys.
Definitely, I would recommend watching this movie because it's such a fresh take on this subject. We're getting a lot of information from a lot of different sources, but I feel like this is the one that's not in your face, this is what the religion is. It's kind of showing you what the religion does.
I would recommend the movie, but I think that it's a good supplemental material to, you know, if you start to get really interested in Scientology, because it is a really fun thing to look at from an anthropological sort of viewpoint.
Once again, Ted Koppel.
Because you care about yourself and life itself. Scientology, the word means study of life, study of knowledge.
Right. I agree. I think you're right.
Great. Well, I'm just gonna get back to reading Dianetics here. There's nothing wrong with an active imagination so long as the person knows he's imagining.